I noticed that in TV, movie, and other forms of media, the concept and topic of bipolar disorder is coming up more often. The most recent being with the singer Britney Spears. People are analyzing her and thinking maybe that she is bipolar. Here, we don't support labeling other people and trying to diagnose others. But I have seen some wrong ideas related to bipolar disorder, and I wanted to clarify. The basic idea with bipolar disorder is mood variability. All of us experience mood variability in our lives with frustrations, happiness, sadness, excitement. With bipolar disorder, it's a more intense variability. It's not the same as how we vary our emotions typically. They have a more strong highs and lows, and it isn't their fault. It has to do with the chemicals in their brain. The old term for bipolar disorder was called manic depression. Bipolar has two parts, mania and depression. Explaining mania, that means it's a high. You feel like you're on top of the world. You might feel very creative, very smart. You have a lot of energy. You are very motivated, very busy, constantly doing things. You're not sleeping as much. It's a very positive feeling. You feel powerful. Your judgment might be not the best. You might be impulsive, not thinking through all of your decisions, acting very quickly. It's hard for someone experiencing mania to focus. Someone might gamble or sleep around or spend a lot of money with their credit card. Mania is a high, so depression is a low. So, bipolar depression looks similar to other people's depression. It's hard to sleep, or you're sleeping too much, you're not eating, or you're eating too much. There's no hope for the future. It's hard to focus. You're not getting enjoyment out of your daily routine. Typically, you have thoughts related to death. People who are bipolar experience depression worse than people who just experience depression. The reason is because someone with bipolar has experienced the mania when time was so good, everything felt amazing, and so comparing bipolar depression, they feel like it's so much worse. People with bipolar have a higher suicide rate. 1 in 5 people with bipolar disorder who are not in medicine will commit suicide. Bipolar mood variability, it's different for every person. Not every person does not look the same. For adults, it might be that they're in a state of mania for weeks on end, or maybe even months on end. And then maybe they go to being stable for several weeks or months. Later, they have a depression for weeks or months. It can fluctuate kind of like that. For children and young teenagers, the mood variability tends to happen more often. Possibly in one day, there's a lot of variability from mania to depression. This can happen with adults too. It's hard to recognize bipolar disorder, and one of the reasons is because some people who have bipolar disorder use alcohol or drugs to mask their pain, kind of self medication to make themselves feel better, but it often causes more issues in the long run. Bipolar disorder causes the chemicals in the brain to be different. It's not something that is able to be cured, but it can be controlled. If someone is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, does that mean they're going to have an awful life? Absolutely not. They can live a life that's awesome, and as long as they're taking medicine and appropriately. Make sure when you're taking medicine that you're working with a psychiatrist, talking to a therapist, your doctor, to find the right match for you. It's also important to eat regularly, go to bed, and wake up at the same time, have that routine, and also exercise regularly. Eat, sleep, and exercise are 3 very important things for bipolar disorder. Family support is very important. Friend support is very important. It can be more difficult for people who are bipolar to ask for support or recognize that they need it. So it's really important for a family member to have a conversation with them and let them know how they can support you. Going to therapy once a week can help a lot as well. Lessening stress. Learning about your triggers. Some people have stress with marriage or relationships, so trying to experience that less. Making sure you're eating appropriately. One big myth about bipolar disorder is that people who have it are violent or stupid or they lose control easily. You can see that in movies when they talk about someone with bipolar disorder, but that's very general. They typically aren't violent people. There are many successful people who have shared their story about being bipolar. President Roosevelt is one of them. Actor Robin Williams is another. And many more. Doesn't mean you're trapped in a box. You can live your life.